All right, everybody, this is a pre-show, me getting prepared for David. So I just want to, let me adjust my camera just a second. Just a second. Hold on. Let's see if that do it. Well, that's going to do it. I don't know what this is. Oh, yeah. So MC's in the building. Where you at? Where you at? I know it has been a minute, but I am super excited. I'm still looking to find my rhythm. It's very, very difficult, especially when, you are new and you're finding your template, your style, your blah, 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 blah. So I am still doing that. Also celebrating a birthday. I had, what else did I have to do? Oh yeah, the workshop and all that, but that was way back in March. So, but anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are going to have a wonderful, very intriguing show. I hope that it provides value for you in terms of enriching your life, in terms of you knowing that you're bigger than the body that you possess. You knowing that your value is beyond what any construct says or determines for you. And so we are going to, David is going to join us in a little bit, and he's going to tell you, his own experience about him having a near-death experience. I don't really call it a near-death experience, but he's going to tell you his experience, and it is quite amazing. It is incredible, and he has come back to share his experiences wherever he can, because after realizing what the truth of the matter is, he feels very committed to share his story and to help people get mentally free. I call it mentally emancipated, because so many of us are mentally enslaved and walking around mentally enslaved, and that is affecting our health, not just our mental health, but our physical health. And we don't understand how that affects our mental and physical health. So David is going to come on. His name is David Williamson. You can find him on Instagram. You can look him up real quick on YouTube. He has had many interviews with people in the esoteric world, in the spiritual world. He goes on retreats, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to let him share all that with y'all. He is joining us at 1:30. And until he joins us, I just want to also let you know that I am working on some more shows. And you know what? I've been sitting quiet with this whole Candace thing. And, so many people, going after Candace or whatever, I've been sitting quiet, just sitting on the sidelines and just watching. And I have come to not a conclusion, but I had just arrived at an assessment that I really don't understand. I'm really kind of confused with this whole obsession with making Candace the bad person. Are some of her things, for me personally, a little bit far-fetched? Yeah, but I'm also not an investigative journalist. I know investigative journalists, they leave no stone unturned. Like, they will throw spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks in order to get to the bottom, to the root of the issue or the case that they are researching or investigating. And I don't see Candace doing anything else but that. But I do see that Candace is a threat. I can see that she is a threat. But I also, what I do understand and what I do mostly admire about Candace is that she is mentally free. She is unenslaved. She is a free thinker. So at one point when she may have been a conservative head, I mean, she probably still considers herself a conservative, but not affiliated with any particular party, because now she is realizing that it's all the same shit. And I so am in love with that, because it also has freed her. Sorry, my dog is licking his area. and I don't want it to get any more agitated than it already is. So I had to distract them. Anyway, I just enjoy the fact that she is a free thinker. And when you become a free thinker, you become mentally fortified. Like you become unfuckwithable. And I think that's what annoys people the most about Candace, is that she is unfuckwithable. And I'm going to have a show that is going to be dedicated to that, because I also find it very interesting that all these Christians are going after one another. I'm like, Christians, what is going on? Are y'all okay? Because what is going on? Y'all, the Christians are gunning for each other. And I don't understand what that is about. So that is something that we are going to discuss, because also it's like really taking an earnest look at Erica Kirk. And I don't think anybody is making Erica Kirk a bad person. I think, and I don't even think that Erica Kirk is a bad person. I don't know Erica Kirk. Oh my God, y'all, this whole time, you see, I ain't ready. Y'all, I am not ready, and I'm so sorry, but I got a microphone on. I'm like, what am I missing here? Something seems bare. Like the area seems barren here. Like, what is going on? What have I done? What have I done? I forgot to turn on my microphone. But you know what? I'm glad that I did this now instead of like in the middle of my interview with David that is happening pretty soon. All right.
Forgive me. Okay, there we go. There is a microphone. Defecating on your microphone. Okay, yeah, if you know, you know. So yeah, so anyway, so I don't think that Erica Kirk is a bad person. I don't know Erica to be a bad person. I don't know her personally. But I just think that she is under influence. Not influence of drugs, but under the influence of an establishment. Yeah, I'm going to say that. I do think that she's under the influence of an establishment, because I think it's very, very interesting and very curious to how she's maneuvering juxtaposed to how her husband maneuvered. I think that is not just inconsequential. I think that is rather significant. And I do think that that needs to be examined. I do think that it needs to be evaluated heavily, scrutinized heavily. Absolutely. People keep saying, and I'm not going to get into this because, we'll get into it on another show, but because I am watching the time, but people keep saying, it's almost as if people are treating Erica like they are treating Israel. Like you just can't say anything bad about Israel. And now it feels like they're trying to put Erica Kirk adjacent to that. Well, no, she's still a human being. She's not above anybody else. She's no more holier than thou than anyone else. She's not more important than anyone else. She's not beyond scrutiny. And when people keep saying, "Oh, look at what they're doing to a grieving widow," well, me personally have not seen her grieve not one time. At all. Now, I have seen her dab her eyes as if, there are tears there, as if, she is like verklempt, but that it doesn't seem genuine. It just doesn't. And I think that what Erica Kirk is really battling with is that the collective, the majority doesn't see her as an authentic woman who is in her grieving period. It just doesn't. You're anywhere and everywhere at all times. If you go to a correspondence dinner, why are you there? You're not a part of the press. You're not a part of the White House cabinet. So why are you there? I know the cockamamie story that you told us why you went, but you could also have just invited those journalists on into the what you call the Charlie Kirk show. They would have chomped at the bit to have a one-on-one meeting, a town hall, a round table with the Erica Kirk. So that story that was told for the reason why she was there, again, it doesn't seem genuine. People can like it, not like it, or whatever. It just doesn't seem genuine. And so and it's almost like there was one comment that I saw on Twitter X, that I thought was very intelligent. The person said, I don't follow Candace. I have not watched any of Candace's shows. I'm not a fan of Candace. I'm not of the Candyland. I'm not of that. But I just do watch Erica Kirk, and she does not seem like she's authentic. And so that person is not even influenced by any other, independent journalist or YouTuber or what have you. The person is just making an observation for him herself. And I believe that is, I believe that is fair. So as I just wanted to give you that overview as who's in the house, by the way. Who is in the house? I hope that some MCs come through and some friends of the MCs come through. So while we are waiting for David, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what I'm going to be covering, hopefully in the next coming couple of weeks. And there's also other interviews that I want to set up. Carmen JC, I would love to have her on the show because she is a free thinker. Nellie Miranda, I want to have her on the show because she is also a free thinker. And I just want to get these young women, have a conversation with them just to see their journey on their way to becoming a free thinker. Because at some point in time, especially if you're a melanated person in this country, you were enslaved by your skin. And here at the Mental Chiropractor, this is what we are here to do. We're here to crack our minds so that we can realign to our sovereign selves and to our power, to our infinite power. So that's what the channel is really about. It's really about taking back your hijacked mind and plopping yourself back down into the driver's seat of your life. So, and that's what David, hey, what's up, Prophet Experience? Welcome. So and hopefully that is what David is going to shed some light on, of how much power that we really have over our lives, how much agency we have, all the agency over our lives. And so when he gets here, that's what he's going to share, the Prophet Experience. What's your actual name? Do you want to, can you give me your actual name, or you just want me to call you at the Prophet Experience? Okay, so until then, let me see what time it is. So he should be joining us any minute now. I do have my Jay Witt. Hold on one second. I'm gonna get it for you. Hold on. So this is what I'm going to do. Oh, James. Okay, what's up, James? Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I do have my Jay Witt podcast tank top. Can y'all see it? Yep. So, because what I really want to do, but I also think it may confuse people, but I want to support the podcasters that I really enjoy. And by wearing their paraphernalia or buying a coffee cup or something of theirs and just not advertising it, but wearing it or using it during one of my YouTube shows. So I'm going to wear Jay Witt podcast, his tank top, sometime in the near future. But I just don't want people to think that is my podcast. I have to make it very clear that this is somebody that I'm supporting. So go over to his channel and watch his material over there, and look at his store and get you something. Get you something while you're there. Okay, I'm trying to stay in the frame of the cell phone, of the IG format. Okay. So David, I had like 9 people here. Now it's nobody here, but some people will come on in when David gets here. So I am just going to patiently wait until he gets here. James, so I was really enjoying your podcast. Well, like I said, it's a podcast about Al Sharpton. And you know what? I have to get some merchandise made for, yep, you sure do. Get your merch store up there, because as you are building, and I didn't know you had so many followers. You have a lot of followers. So as you're building your audience, your store is right there. and it is not hard to do at all. Like Jay Witt, he made this tank top just for me because I was like, I need a tank top. He was like, no problem, sis, I got you. But anyway, I was really enjoying your expose on Al Sharpton. I didn't know that he was a bona fide agent. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here he is. Without further ado, I am going to invite. Oops, there he is. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, y'all. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to invite David to the stage. All right. Now, what's up, David? Okay. I just did something. Hold up. What happened to my y'all? Wait, show the preview vertical. Wait, okay, wait. Hold on. Okay, wait. Whoop, nope. Escape. Stop. Hold on, David. Y'all. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. Hi. Can you see me? I can't see my full screen.
I can see you, and it's divided side by side on the bigger screen and a top, above the other on the smaller screen.
Okay.
A different platform.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna actually take this off of the other because I have it to where you can see it on. I can see what it looks like on the phone and the laptop, but I don't like that because I can't see my screen fully. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can. Can you? Here we go. Can you also send me the Cash App?
Oh, forgot to do that.
Yes. We got to support. Okay. Your dual access. Use the 3-dot menu to customize. Okay. All right, I don't want to do dual access. How do I don't want to do dual access anymore. Turn that off. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna just have to live with it. Because I don't see where it lets me. I'm gonna just have to live with it. Darn it, crud. Okay. Okay. All right. So perfect. Okay. So welcome, David.
Thanks for having me.
Have you? Yes, indeed. So ladies and gentlemen, we have here the wonderful David Williamson. I'm just going to let him go ahead and introduce himself. But I have had the pleasure of speaking with him a few times over the last couple of years. I ran into him on YouTube and I had to go scurry and find his information after I learned his story because it was so spot on to what we're going to talk about a little later. But David, so if you want to go ahead and tell the people, who you are, and then we'll jump into this lovely conversation.
Hey, my name is David Williamson. I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia now. I've been living here for a while, about 20 something years, a little over 20 years. But I'm from a small town in North Carolina called Yanceyville. I grew up there, but I was an Army brat too, so traveled around a little bit. But my formative years, I would say, are in Yanceyville, combination between Yanceyville and Oklahoma, Lawton, Oklahoma. Yeah. But I've had a lot of spiritual experiences from childhood all the way up to adulthood, and it impacted how I see this place and the opportunity that we have here as human beings,
And that's right, because you did, before we get into this. So I just want to say this, that when we were on the phone the other day, and how I was saying that how they say the near death experience, and at this point I'm always very conscious of just taking what the system or the establishment just taking the terms and labels that they give me and just regurgitating them just because they're given to me. So I examine everything now. So near-death experience, I was like, but if a person actually died, that's not a near death. That is a brief death experience. And then you said you actually called it a what?
I mean, I've heard people refer to them as death experiences, you know.
Yeah, death experience. And
Yeah.
then you said not, you just called it not, I think you had said not novelty or something.
Oh, novel experiences. I'm sorry.
Experience.
Now,
Yeah,
because they're not part of everybody's lived experience,
right.
but people have heard enough about them to where when somebody says it, it's like, oh, I've heard of that at least, you know. And and a lot of people have novel experiences, and they don't have to be as extreme as dying, you know. And these experiences do create opportunities to pivot, but they change how we see things. In those novel experiences, sometimes they're spontaneous, sometimes it's psychedelic, sometimes it's meditation, deep breathing. Anything can lead to a novel experience, but they are important. And I think sometimes on the backside of these experiences, people don't know how to explain them, and sometimes don't feel comfortable explaining them because they are novel, and the person can be viewed as lying, crazy, you know, just making stuff up. And I dealt with that for years before. I didn't talk about what happened to me for 3.5 years before I actually started sharing it, because I didn't think, you know, I would be believed.
Right.
And there are still people who tell me I'm lying, you know,
Yeah.
I'm making it up. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And it's funny that you say that, because my husband, he actually had a novel experience where he had an out of body experience. And, you know, it did take him some time to talk about it. And he talked about, you know, how when he saw the pigeons, you know, because he's based in New York. And so when he saw the pigeons, in his out of body experience, they were the most beautiful thing ever to look at. And then he also talked about how when he came back into his body, like the period of depression that he experienced, because he was so expansive and so light and could just get from here to there in a blink of an eye in a thought, you know, and then you come back into this dense form.
Yeah. And it's absurd. It's absurd to you, like for a lot of people who have these experiences, to come back to this and see what we are centering, you know, that is complicating things. Like we're centering race, we're centering storytelling, we're centering mythology, we're centering trauma narratives, we're centering, and these are the things that guide how we interact with each other as human beings on this planet. And to have a novel experience where you kind of get separated from the norm, and then you are dropped back into the norm doesn't make sense anymore for a lot of people. And for me, I participated in that norm, that crazy stuff.
Okay.
And, you know,
so before we get there, because I this is where I want to start off, how you participated in the norm and the crazy stuff, because what happened was, because I came off a lot of NDE stories, you know, on my YouTube feed. And when I came across yours, the reason why it struck me so is because because I haven't had a novel experience, but I did have an awakening to where I realized that this whole narrative about skin color and the melanin level in the skin, that's all a hoax. That was all a hoax. We had all been hoodwinked and bamboozled to serve the justification. First it was a justification, and then, sorry if you can hear that. And then to serve the agenda, to keep everyone divided so that the power could continue to grow and thrive in that gap of the division. So for yours, when I saw that, you know, it was like you said, the hatred is what killed me, like the hatred for white people. You were such a pro blackity black, you know, that carrying all of that within you, you know, ultimately ended you up on the table. So if you could just start with your very first experience that you experienced as a child, and then just kind of walk us through your young adult and how it ended you up with your novel experience for your brief death experience.
Okay. As a kid, I was, you know, from, like I said, from a very rural area in North Carolina. enjoyed nature. I would say from up to 5 years old, part of six, I was just happy. I was just enjoying nature. I played with animals, a little mischievous, but was really just a nature boy. I loved, bugs and digging holes and trying to find fossils, and everything I found to me in that time was precious. Broken glass, if it was a pretty color, it was a precious jewel to me. And I would keep these. And I went to a summer camp at age 6, and that's when things. But even before the drowning, I was already having very lucid dreams with sleep paralysis, and and I had gifts, but I would say that maybe they amplified after the drowning. But I was already the sleep paralysis was really
At what age were
difficult
you
for me.
having the sleep paralysis?
From 5, 6, for what I remember is 5, 6, 4, even like I was in kindergarten, preschool, having sleep paralysis. Like
Was that terrifying?
very much so, but it was so common that I just got used to it, and I learned how to just calm down, because what it felt like to me was, because I was so active when I was out of my body, and then my awareness would come back to my body, and it felt like I should be breathing hard to match the amount of activity that's happening while I was out of my body, because I was flying a lot of the times. But I would come back to my body, and my body would be a complete rest, and it felt like I should be suffocating, and I would be, it's like my mind would be saying, like, you can't breathe, and then I realized, no, this person is at rest. That activity is not here. It's not affecting this body that's at rest. So there's no anxiety that needs to be experienced. Like, this body is at rest. You don't have to feel like you should be flying in this body. The body's asleep.
You were doing this at 5 or 6 years old, David, making this
I was
assessment.
trying to make it make sense, because it was hard. Yeah. So I just learned to wait, and I realized that the feeling of suffocation was just in my mind, because I expected my body to be doing what my mind was doing, and my mind was usually flying or something extremely active. I was always a bird, a lot in dreams, and I was always flying. I loved to fly, so I would fly, and I would take very similar flight patterns almost every time. It was a very controlled dream, to where I flew, and I would fly through tree branches. I love to do it, to zigzag through tree branches, and I love to grow through power lines, between and around power lines, and that was constant. That was a constant dream that I had, that would make it. I wouldn't come back to my body when I opened my eyes. I would just be sitting there, and I would panic sometimes, until I learned to just wait, just wait. So.
You know what? I actually have had dreams where I was flying, and I could actually feel the sensation of being suspended in air, but I never stayed in the air like that long. It was basically me, like, either I'm on the ground and I'm flying to a building, or it was for me, I had like a destination. I was just flying, but I wasn't flying in the air like that. But I do know that sensation. It's so fun.
Yeah. Even as a kid, I like to run fast to feel the wind on my face, because it reminded me of flying.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So then you went to, so basically you're pretty much like an open vessel, like spiritually speaking. You were, and then you went to summer camp.
Yeah, and I was watching kids swimming in the water, and I couldn't swim, but I had life jackets on, so I saw life jackets on the dock. I put one on. Probably didn't do it correctly. There weren't really any adults around at that moment, So I put the jacket on, and I just ran and jumped as high as I could. And as soon as I hit the water, the life jacket stayed at the top, and I kept going down. So I looked up, and I saw the life jacket, and I was like, "Nah, that's not supposed to be how this works," But I'm going down, and I'm going down like a rock, like really, really fast, and it seems like I'm going down forever. And I realized at some point, the internal conversation is, you're not going to be able to hold your breath for much longer, and I knew that because I couldn't hold my. I remember as a kid, because I was always into trying to know and experience everything. I wanted to know how long I could hold my breath. So I would in the tub. I would go under the water and time it. My brother and I did it. Max that I could ever do was probably like a minute and a half.
That's such a boy thing to do. Well, only boys do that. Girls are not doing that.
Yeah, I always wanted to know how long I could hold my breath. So sometimes we would just look at each other and just hold our breath and see who, exhaled first, But I knew a minute and a half was max generally for me at that time. And so when I was under the water, I knew I wasn't going to be able to hold my breath for much longer, but I was calm. Like there was no panic. I wasn't even moving my arms to go up. I don't know if it's that I didn't know how to swim, so I didn't know to do anything. I just was going down, and my arms and everything was beside me, like I was just accepting that I was just going down. And at some point I did black out, and a voice said immediately, because it's hard to tell between me being awake and me being in this blackness as a child, because it was a very simple experience. But I went from knowing that I wasn't going to be able to hold my breath for much longer to immediately to this like blackness. Shortly after that, to like a blackness that's very dense, similar to what I experienced in the second one, indeed. But the voice said, if you could touch the bottom, you can push yourself back up. And it was so peaceful. It was so calm that there was no part of my awareness that could have panicked ever. And I wasn't panicking up to that point, but then hearing that voice made it impossible to feel anxiety or fear in that moment at all. And I responded to the voice. I said, I'm just going down. It doesn't seem like I'm going to touch the bottom. And as soon as I said that, I started floating back up. And as I'm floating back up, my attention moves up, and it's like the blackness, it's not the dense blackness anymore, because now I can see light coming from the top of the water. And then after a while, I see a splash in the water, and I see the ripples radiating from that splash. It's just rings radiating out, and it captivates me, and it's really beautiful to me. And I stare at that before I even reach to grab the pole, which is what caused the ripples, as they dropped the pole in the water to pull me out. And they pulled me out, and I remember sitting on the edge of the dock with my feet dangling, and I took about 2 deep sighs. I sighed 2 times, and I coughed twice, and then I had a big sigh, a really deep sigh. And I looked around, and everybody around me was panicking. People were crying. It was like people holding other people, consoling them, because everybody thought that I was dead, and I didn't know what was happening on the top of the water. So when I turned around and I saw all of that, the amount of energy and emotion made me cry. And so when I cried, all of the kids came around me to console me. And then we went into the shallow part, which was enclosed by the dock. It was like a big square dock, and then a part where you jumped off into the water. And so it was fun for me. Like, the memory wasn't integrated as a drowning. It was integrated as I went under the water, I felt this beautiful peace, and his voice was so beautiful. And then that was weird. And then the kids, we just played for the rest of the time that we was in the water. Like, there was no part of that experience that stuck as you just died. You went through, and as 6 years old, I don't think I would have been able to come to that conclusion anyway, But my life changed drastically after that. The internal dialogue became louder and more prescriptive and protective.
And what was the internal dialogue saying?
It just told me when it was time to leave situations. It told me, I knew when I was around violence, so I knew if a shootout was about to start. I knew when it was about to start.
Okay.
And I would leave. If it was a big fight was about to break out, I knew, and I would leave. So I always avoided a lot of stuff just because I knew when it was about to happen. And I don't know if it was just deep sensitivity, like, because I've definitely been an empath most of my life, or it was that I compressed a lot of time into the same moments that other people do. Like, I pay attention to so much information, and in a moment that I used to joke and say that if in a 1 hour, a person might have a 1 hour of data, I probably have 3-4 hours of data, and it's because I'm really paying attention to everything, not just what's visible, but the energy and the changes in of the moment. Like the energy changes, as people interact and as people come and go. Like all of that data is stuff that I pick up, and it's useful. But I didn't when I was a child. It overwhelmed me after age 6. After I drowned, it was so overwhelming that I prayed to God to take, because people, I try to share some of the stuff, and some of the explanations that I got were scary. Like I always talk about the sleep paralysis. I didn't know the word sleep paralysis, but I would say I can't move when I wake up sometimes. And the explanation was that's the haint or the witch is on your chest or
Right.
riding you. And it's like, why would I want that? So for
Right.
me, um, also being raised in the church and knowing God and knowing what good and evil is, and at least being told about it, I didn't want that. So I prayed to God for all of the gifts and to go away, because they were just confusing me. And I said that if you do want to talk to me, and I said this at age 6, 7, I said, I don't want to have to interpret anything. I want it to be clear. I don't want to have to guess or figure out anything. Um, and that's kind of been my relationship with spirit, has just been information. And I can decide to listen or not. But then even when I begged for it to go away, it really didn't. It's just, I learned as a child to just tune it out and try to be normal. And I think that was the first real shift that I did that changed my experience here, is not being grateful for what I was born as, uh,
Hmm.
but not being old enough to understand that what I was born as was beautiful and could have been developed in a different way if I was around, in a circumstance where that could have been
They
nurtured differently.
understood. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That voice that you heard though when you were underwater, was it a familiar voice or?
yeah. It sounds like my adult voice. As a child, it
Okay.
sounded like my adult voice now.
Mhm.
And it
Wow.
sounded familiar. It sounded comfortable. Like it was very comforting to hear this voice. And so, yeah, there was no trauma in that experience at all. It was just I knew something weird happened. I didn't have the language to explain it. You know.
Wow. We have some chats here coming in, and so I just want to see if just want to tell this person that they're not trolling. You're welcome here. I really don't understand what everybody use trolling in a different way. I don't even know what it really means anymore. Um, um, but so the King he said that he also had this same type of experience where he let me see. He said, "Can you see the comments?"
Yeah, I see it. He was
Okay.
saved by his dad, and he remembered peace in the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah.
under the water, it was just very peaceful, very peaceful. I don't even know that I knew to be afraid. Like I didn't, I don't know. I just didn't. I had no fear in that drowning.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you at that time, did that kind of take away the fear of dying for you at that young age with having that type of
No,
experience?
not at that age. At that age, it made me, because I didn't understand what happened to me, but I knew that death was involved. So at that age, it made me hyper focused on death and dying and hell and heaven and what happens next. And I started reading the Bible and different books that I could get my hands on at age 6, 7, 8, that explained death and dying and hell and heaven. I thought
Mm.
I was scared to go to hell. I thought I was going to go to hell because I judged myself for my thoughts, because I thought that everybody could hear each other's thoughts, and I thought that all of my thoughts were being heard by everybody,
Mm.
and they knew that I
Wow.
was mischievous, or if when I was having a bad thought or whatever. And because I heard thoughts, and I understood what people felt, and I thought that that was normal. And
You mean you were hearing thoughts of other people?
yeah, I could feel, it was more like feeling what they were thinking. I knew what they were thinking if they were around me. I knew what they were
You were an
feeling.
open channel, really.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means in terms of like human design, but they told me that I've learned this years ago now, but I'm a reflector. Still haven't
Mm.
delved deeply into that, but it's just no open channels or or it's either all open channels or no open channels, something like that. And I taste the reality around me and try to interpret it and reflect it back. Is how one person explained it. But that's kind of it. I've never wanted to participate in this ever at all. But I did want to understand it. So I would go out, and as I got older, I would go to clubs with friends just to watch people, like a psychologist,
Observe and
and feeling what people are thinking, like knowing when people are pushing themselves beyond their comfort levels to do. Like I could feel it. Like, look at him. He's not used to doing this. Look at him. Like he's scared to death. And then I would see his friends come, and then his whole energy change. And I would observe these types of like internal shifts in people at clubs because that's what I felt, and I didn't want to participate. So that's what I did, was just look at people and feel what they were feeling.
So this is interesting. Scorpio Mama said we have those gifts. Yeah. And I think that, all of us have the ability to tap into those gifts. And I think that some people come here a little bit more sensitive and connected, like yourself, to those gifts. But I think that if people put the intent on accessing those gifts, then we all, but like I said, some people are just a little bit more in tune to those gifts, like yourself.
I'm sorry to distract, but just looking at Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm sorry for trolling you guys. You're good people. I hope he's still here, because I know how it feels sometimes to just to want to share.
Yeah.
And I thought I was crazy, so there were times when I would hear people saying things or go online and see a video similar to what I experienced, and I would lose it, like, oh my God, I'm not crazy, So
Yeah.
I don't like, but the beautiful part and after these experiences is when you regulate your nervous system and you ground the experience, and you focus on interpreting, what it means to you in your life and why you, like, that's when it really the value of it becomes real. Like you get an opportunity to really change. Like you get an opportunity to see how you were before, and now you can do something different, and that's such a beautiful opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, he's still here. Okay,
great.
Good.
Yeah, man. Don't. You're not trolling, bro. It's just that these experiences are novel and they are hard to integrate. And you will feel like you've lost your mind on the backside of these experiences, man.
Okay, so this is a great segue, because you said that you're a reflector, and a lot of the times you said that what you would observe, you would just want to give back. You just want to reflect that. So I kind of want to move through now to the heart of the conversation. And because like I said, when I was introduced to you, David, your story was that, the Black people are oppressed. The white man is the devil. And you saw the KKK, marching through your street. So I want you to take your time and walk us through that experience, because I think it makes it more profound of where you are now post your BDE, your brief death experience, or your novel experience. So yes, I want you to take your time and be as descriptive, as detailed as you want to be, because we are here for it. So I want you to share the story.
Okay. I grew up, my biological grandfather, he passed when my mother was a teen, but he was a sharecropper. My uncles, my grandmother, mother, aunts, they all grew up on that farm. My grandmother shared stories with me when I was very young about what life was like on that farm. I would hear stories from my aunts and uncles, sometimes when they were talking amongst themselves about growing up on that farm. And it was just bad. It didn't make me think very highly of white people at all. Very contextual though, as a very specific circumstance, sharecropping, and in a
right.
And but the stories my grandmother told, it just made me hate. It just made me hate them, and that wasn't her intention. It was she was just sharing what she had experienced, Um, Then seeing the KKK marching up and down the street multiple times. Very young, so I'm actually I can. It's just like yesterday. I'm looking up at white people, police officers, my family, and it's just anger and extreme emotion, and trying to understand this. And see a bottle get hurled at one of the KKK members. It hits him. I'm seeing all of this, and it just becomes what I think is normal. Like they hate us, we hate them. That just is what it is, and I can do that. I can do that. I can do that probably better than them. You know, so this because the stories that I heard from my family were never about fear. It was always about it was anger. It was anger. It was
Mhm.
rage. So and even some of 'em, yeah, the stories just it made me feel like I was supposed to carry this energy this way because this is my bloodline. This is our legacy. It's never showing this fear to this terrorism. So I'm going to be the terrorist. If I walk into a room of all white people, they're going to feel me. I'm not going to feel them because they mean nothing to me. They're going to feel my anger. They're going to feel my rage, and they're going to be afraid of me. And I wanted that to be the case. And I carried that energy everywhere I went, and it didn't do anything to anybody but me. It destroyed me,
Mhm.
But I will say that most places I went, not only were white people afraid of me, but black people often were afraid of me too.
Right.
So
Right. This is felt by everybody.
exactly. So you don't get to carry that type of energy and still be of real service to anyone.
Hmm.
So it's never really, it can be justified because you've experienced what you've experienced and make you feel it. But creating something with it is difficult because you repel the people that you love.
Hmm.
You're
Yep.
too intense to be, to even be
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything with it. All it did was make me stay in that state. It made me see everything I saw justified me staying in that state.
Hmm.
Uh, Everything I learned, I learned history. It just reinforced they done this terrorism all over the world. They hate everyone. They disrupt everybody. Um, Everything. Hiroshima, because I had memories of Hiroshima and Nagasaki after I drowned at age 6. I hated them for that. I hated them for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Uh, at age 13, I was so concerned about nuclear bombs that I started studying like thorium as an alternative for uranium, and that's why we didn't use thorium instead of uranium. It had a fraction of the half life, and it still allowed the the nuclear energy to be produced. It allowed it allowed the energy to be created. So I didn't understand why we didn't
So you
choose
went and
thorium.
studied nuclear.
Yeah, if I felt as a kid, if I felt like I mattered, and I didn't feel like I mattered, but if I felt like I mattered as a kid, I would have definitely been a scientist who was trying to understand nuclear energy
Mhm.
or understand space and black holes, because all of these things did interest me, and that is a part of why I think my experience is it was um, so worldly in the context of what other people experience at the same time mystical, uh
So wait, but when you say that you didn't feel like you mattered as a child, do you mean that in your nucleus, or do you mean more on a macro level, like in society?
in society and in my nucleus. I
Oh,
didn't, yeah, well, my mother loved me fiercely, so love, like I didn't have even if I thought the world hated me, my mother made me know that I was loved. And she was vicious, she was protective, like she protected us with the same energy that was around us, the same vicious energy that was around us. She knew how to embody it to protect us, and I
yes, got you.
observed it. I observed
Hmm.
it, and the way that I don't care how vicious it was, it felt like love, the same way that the goodnight kisses felt like love.
Mm.
So love for me could be violent, and
Hmm.
because there was so much violence around me, if somebody was protecting me and they had to engage extreme behavior and violence to protect me, I viewed that as love too. So,
Hmm.
so for me, it's like my violence, my violent thoughts, and my desire to destroy this place. I felt like it was love for the people that I wanted to protect. You know, I see the paranormal question like everything I've experienced is paranormal. You know, like from age 5, 6 forward, and I tried to be normal. So for me, what most people would call paranormal, I would just say it's just normal. I don't want to center paranormal because centering paranormal makes people stop paying attention to the fact that we just need to be better to each other to improve this place and not worry about aliens and gods that are somewhere way out there. You know, we have gods right here, and I'm talking to one. You know, I'm interacting with some other ones, and you know, and we can
Right.
just treat each other better. You know, and I don't get distracted by even that stuff. But
Right.
we have the capacity to create the experience we want, the same way that we apply
Mm.
to gods. You know, we have that capacity. So
Oh, you know, whenever you start speaking on that, David, I just get so giddy inside like that it just elates my entire being, you know, because that's exactly it. It is that we have the ability to affect one another and impact one another's lives, you know, in a way that will forward them, that will enrich them, or in the way that will hold them back and dig the hole deeper for them. And one thing that I wanted to touch upon is that, you know, how you said that when you were a kid, that was just, you know, your version of love, and that's what you thought love could be vicious and then it could be gentle as a goodnight kiss. And as humans, even though we keep saying, you know, we want to create a better world for our children, or we want to leave a better world for our children, but we don't understand that we are just making carbon copies of
yeah,
what is already out here, because we're working from a construct or a paradigm that we have not been happy with, that we feel shackled with, that we feel, you
yeah.
know, weird. So so we're basically just recycling and creating people like yourself when you were a child to be the same exact way, which is not going to
That's
change
it.
the world at all.
At all. And that's why I say now I tell people, because there are people who like to separate themselves from the good and from the bad. And I'm like, well, you know, there's been a lot of beautiful people, you know, in history that only all they did was protect their family by teaching them how to be here as it is, not necessarily saying that some of the things here need to be, you know, addressed so that, you know, being here it isn't as complicated as it is for us now, or at least a lot of people here, you know. And I think that was another form of resentment for me, is that a lot of the advice that we would get as children where I grew up was you got to work 3 times as hard as white people to get half
Yep.
as much. And
Yep.
that angered me, because it's like, if you are this old, why is it still that way? Why haven't you done whatever needs to be done, even if it is violence, to make things right for us, your children, your
Mhm.
your grandchildren,
Mhm.
your great grandchildren? Why are we still in this same nonsense? So I hated everybody. I didn't just hate white people for creating the slavery and the disparity. I hated us for not fighting hard enough to change things. You
Mhm.
know, like, why are we still here in this?
Yeah, you were
Why?
holding your people accountable. Like
Yeah,
y'all just sat back and
yeah, we could have fought
just
differently. It could have
Mhm.
been, in my mind. Now here's another thing. I started studying history, and I started seeing other examples of groups of people experiencing oppression, and some of the spiritual things that happened, like the ghost dance with Wovoka. Um I was so mad to that Wovoka, after he had the vision that he had about because the ghost dance
Now,
spot.
who was that?
He was a priest of the ghost dance in Southwest the United States, and a
Native
while
American?
ago, Native American.
Okay.
He took on a different name later, but he was one of the ghost dance prophets who was receiving information about how to get this world back, to get this country back in order from the perspective of the original owners of this land,
Mhm.
and and the solution was to get rid of the outsiders, you know.
Mm.
and and some of this is in a book that's published, and some of this is only in his dissertation, and it's removed. And because they talk about a herb to heal everybody in the book, Black Elk Speaks. uh but they don't talk about. I think it's Black Elk Speaks where they talk about the ghost dance, or it may just be a book called The Ghost Dance Tradition. Um, but they don't talk about. But it's the book. Whoever the author is, their dissertation is different from the book that got published. The dissertation talks about this genocide herb that is in the Black Hills. That if they were to get this medicine and start using this medicine, that it would correct things. And there was an extreme amount of violence, extreme amount of violence, extreme amount of death. The same stuff we've been doing for millennia now. And Wovoka renounced the tradition and became a Presbyterian minister. Now, some of this history could be, I've read this as a child, as a young person, and it angered me because it's like, whatever amount of death is necessary to happen to change things, I want to do it. I'll kill everybody, you know. Right. And it's like, no, you can't. You can't. There's no individual that has that amount of, no matter how crazy I was and bloodthirsty I may have been in that time, angry, ain't no one person gonna do nothing, you know. So you drive yourself crazy, assuming that you can be the individual, the savior. And this comes from a lot of, you know, the ideology that we get taught in Western societies, the savior ideology, the savior mentality. Like, I don't know, I'm just, all of that's gone. Like, I spent my whole life stuck in all of this stuff, hating so much that it destroyed my digestive system, destroyed my, you know, gave me hypertension and led to the second experience ultimately. You know?
So when you were going through, first of all, give us like the age range that you were going through this rage, the hatred of, you know, that you were carrying, like both are age range.
From when I drowned at age 6 to when I had a heart attack at age 40. 34 years of existential crisis, extreme depression and sadness and anger and rage. For 34 years, there was only
walking around.
Yeah. And it was only briefly interrupted. Like, I fell in love a couple times. And in those moments, I was able to have some peace, you know. But it was because of how love was for me as a child. My mother loved me, and love was protection. Love was safety. Love allowed me to be here, even though I didn't want to be here, you know. So when I would fall in love in my life, I felt safe. I felt protected. I felt like I wanted to be here in those moments. And when those things, you know, dissolved or went away, I've gotten one divorce, some, you know, complicated relationships always. Like, it used to break me, like, to experience that, because it was like death for me, you know, like I'm not safe anymore. You know, and my experience, and even it took years after my last experience to understand that some of the way that we love and attach and connect and even view human beings, other human beings, creates delusional type of thinking, you know, that ultimately is not sustainable, you know.
I do want to thank you for inviting people to hit that like button, and Scorpio Mama, you know, for asking people to support the channel. And I do just want to put this out here. I don't know if I can pin this, but I did put David's Cash App in the chat because he is basically just doing this to help people. And I think that is great. But then I think that, you know, it's a symbiotic relationship. Like, if we are able to also support him, then we should, if we find value in what he is going to share with us. Let me see. I pinned it, I think. So I put his Cash App there, and, you know, if we find value, which you know, I do every time we have a conversation, that I want to support, because he is going to be doing this more than working, but he still needs to support himself. So just as a token of gratitude and appreciation for him being here and giving so freely of his time, even if he walks away with $5, you know, it's just a token of gratitude, just to say thank you for being here. So I did pin that. Now, okay, so I want to move forward.
Let me tell Scorpio Mama, I do have a channel, but I haven't put any content on it. I've not done really anything, and that's a lot of people fuss at me about not.
So at least we could start subscribing and wait for you to. So just put it in the chat there.
Let me make sure I even know what it is.
If you remember it.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, though, I just wanted to talk about carrying around this hatred, because there's an old saying, I'm not sure, who is responsible for, hold on, stop it, Cairo. I'm not sure who is responsible for, or what culture, or who's what indigenous culture this comes from, but having resentment and anger and resentment is synonymous for me. But having resentment is like taking poison but expecting the other person to die.
Yeah. Yeah, and I carried it, and I think for whatever reason, I think I thought that like scaring them, walking around with this extreme volatile energy somehow was gonna
How
affect
would it
them.
affect you at your job?
If there was a time, if there were gonna be layoffs, I got laid off.
Yeah.
If somebody said something or did something that I thought was racist, I was gonna acknowledge that it might not have led to good relationships, and I would quit. Like there were times when I just blew up and like I'm not even going back to that place, and I would quit. Now, if you are somebody living with me and I'm doing these things, it's not a good experience. It's a roller coaster ride,
Right.
So it's like it just affects everything. It affects relationships. It affects your life in a fundamental way. And
Right.
And as you move away from that, you see how you've left a trail of just confusion and foolishness, and you just want to fix it. You want to behave better. You want to learn now. I want to learn now how to be better because I turned off at age 6 or 7, and I didn't really care anything about this stuff. I think one thing I felt about this place is if you're happy here, you are a horrible human being because there's nothing here to be happy about. So I was cynical about happy people. I didn't like happy people. There was other things like it was just real toxic, and there was no way for me to ever be happy here. I was not going to allow myself to be happy here. Everybody that looked like me was suffering in my mind because I come from Yanceyville, and it's extreme poverty. It's one of the poorest places in this country. And the ideation, the thoughts that come from extreme poverty is a lot of hopelessness. So that was my frame. And if I saw people,
what a profound statement. If you were happy, then you must have been a bad person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even up to college, there were people who I judged for their happiness, and people that I probably could have had beautiful friendships with, that I looked at and was like, that happy-go-lucky stuff is not for me.
Right.
Yeah. What do we have to be happy about? Like that was always my thing, was like, what do we have to be happy about here? And now I see it's just perfect. It's beautiful. It is our choice what we do here.
Right. And I can't wait to get to that part of, how you arrived at this part of your life. But I just kind of want to walk through this. So, you had mentioned that if they're, carrying all that anger and bringing that presence with you wherever you went, and that energy is very palpable, as we all know. But when it came down to the chopping block, if they had to just lay people off just because they had to lighten their payroll, you were like one of the first ones to go. And when that happened, that was also confirmation biasness for you, because then you're like, see, because I'm
I projected all of my anger onto white people. Even when I know that like in hindsight, especially, because maybe in the moment I wasn't so aware of this, but in hindsight, I know that the energy and the thoughts that I was having, the energy I was carrying, influenced the outcome way more than because I don't know what this person has going on inside their mind.
Exactly.
So, but I know that the outcome was exactly what I knew it would be, because I told myself it was going to be that. I created that outcome, and I probably created the anxiety that made that person choose that outcome anyway, because I'm carrying hate for him, and he doesn't know me and I don't know him, but I hate him anyway because he's white, and I'm not accountable for that. Like leave those situations, not get the job, and I'm like, well, it's just because he's racist. Never was I accountable for the fact that I carried a very toxic energy into that circumstance. What inside of this man's awareness would tell him, yeah, he's the one. I want him next to me every day. Nothing. There was not his everything in his awareness is telling him he's dangerous. Keep him away from you. And then when that outcome happens, I can't blame him, for that outcome. It's I chose that outcome. I already said he ain't gonna give me the job because he's white and he hates me, without even knowing who he was as a human being. So we have to have more accountability for our thoughts You
Right.
know, like don't go into situations with 20 years of narrative backing how you feel about a person and get that outcome and come out and act as though you were just right. You
You
know, versus
right.
you are a powerful manifesto of even your BS thoughts.
There
You know.
you go. That's what I'm talking about. And this is where we don't realize how powerful we actually
Yeah,
are. And you know who don't want us to realize how powerful we actually are? The system, the establishment,
yeah,
government. And that's why us not, especially for the melanated community, not taking accountability for your life, for your choices, for your thoughts, for your actions, that's exactly what they want.
yeah.
Because then that victimhood narrative can be perpetuated over and over and over again. And then you stay in the same exact position while they continue to gain more and more power. See, that's
Yeah.
exactly what the game is all about.
Yeah, and if the blame is on someone else, also the agency to fix the issue is on someone else. You know,
Yep.
if you tell yourself that the only reason why you are where you are is because of what someone else did, then
Yep.
you have to wait for wait for
Fix it
that
for you.
someone else to do something to fix it
Yes.
for you. Where if
Yep.
you accept that I am where I am because I either did this or didn't do this, then you just have to figure out how to get out of your situation. And that's easy to do when you're not triggered all the time and when you're not at odds with reality. When you accept
Right.
reality for what it is and you're able to keep your peace, your circumstances speak to you and you
Yep.
solve the problems that are around you because you keep your attention there versus in space, in the clouds and in belief and extremely rigid orientations and trauma and bias. If you are out of that and you're in reality, reality will talk to you and it will tell you how to address issues in reality. But as soon as you layer reality with a bunch of abstract ideas that human beings make up, you're not in reality anymore. Now, you might be able to solve problems in that space, but these are problems that are most of the time contrived and made up, invented by human beings. So, are you really solving problems, or are you addressing orientations that lead to problems that human beings adopt here, you know?
Mm-hmm. The phenomenon
Yeah,
out here.
yeah,
Okay. So now let's fast forward. Let's just keep going, as we're walking through your experience.
yeah.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, college, I'm just learning. I'm into African spirituality deeply. In
Mom
high
says,
school,
Mama says she needs your channel.
okay. Oh, in high school, when I was in the ninth grade, they started calling me Malcolm Farrakhan. You know, so like
Wow.
I've been the same person for a very long time, the experience happened 9 years ago. So from Malcolm Farrakhan to 9 years ago, I was pretty consistent and certain that this was the most righteous identity that I was gonna entertain, and uh so
Yeah, I'm not sure what she meant by
I
that.
don't know, but I want to say this. I'll be 50 this year, so I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
yeah, they think I'm like 35 or something.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes. Because
You
you don't look it at
you know,
all.
and my biological grandfather was a sharecropper. So it's like there's not a whole lot about the black experience in terms of the extremeness of the racism that a person who's only read about that stuff is going to be able to make me feel and understand deeply. But a lot of people will make a lot of suggestions about who I am, based upon a 20-minute video without knowing that I'm the grandchild of a sharecropper, and that the KKK terrorized me and my family as a child, and that my anger is based on really lived experience and not just some ideology that I learned in college from
Right.
some professor that taught me about my history. I know this, I lived this stuff, and it made me hate. It made me hate in very real, visceral ways, not just an intellectual thing. And so what I've run into a lot is people presenting black and whiteness to me intellectually, as if for one I didn't read some of these same books, and it's really weird. It's really weird to me because my anger was so fundamental to me. Like when I used to take, after I had my gallbladder removed because I lived with digestive issues for years in my adult life. I would take my blood pressure monitor to work, just being around white people made my blood pressure jump to 220 over 140. I was bleeding through my stitches because my blood pressure was
Oh,
bleeding through shirts at work because my blood pressure was going up so high. Two shirts. I would sometimes put on three just to see if I could stop it. And then that's when I quit, because I knew that my anger was going to kill me, and it did, And so for me, it's not an intellectual thing for me. It was like all the way down my whole subatomic particles was angry at this whole place
yeah,
and everybody in
the
it.
visceral.
So
Yeah,
but as far as OGs, I got a whole lot of them. I mean, I come from rural areas where old people still have value, and old people see me, they know me, they love me, and I don't have to really worry about not having that input in my life. Old people love me. Um, some of my closest friends, even in college, were elders. So understanding the value and the knowledge that come from our elders is something that's intrinsic in my identity. And you know, it's great to adore Farrakhan. It's great to adore anybody in this reality, but I'm not. Your story is just as beautiful and magical as any other human being that exists here. And the more you know it, the more you adore you. You know. So,
and the more you realize who you truly are,
yeah,
um, the more that you can adore you, and also have the capacity and the bandwidth to adore everyone around you.
yeah.
No matter the background, no matter the ethnic group or that you belong to or they belong to. So let's keep going. So now,
Yeah, so yeah, in college, I'm just reinforcing it all. I'm studying African spirituality too, and that's helpful. But I'm even turning, like I'm making that violent. Like there ain't no peace in that. I'm a child of Ogun. He's a deity of war, of blood, of iron. That's me. Now I'm spiritually. I'm exactly. I'm just exactly. And it's time to go get blood. And so nothing changes as I learn more. I just get more and more justified in my rage, and more language to justify it, more language to metaphysicalize it. And so for me, and then the history, I'm taking history courses, sociology courses at a historically black school. I went to FAMU, so the Black Psychology Department and a lot of the faculty and staff is African centered. So a lot of the every discipline is that in that department it's gonna be infused with African centered thought. So I'm learning through a bias. You didn't have to tell me
like,
that they
bring
were
it back.
evil. Yeah,
Yeah,
I hated them anyway. You didn't have to make up any other story for me. I had already heard enough. But
right.
then all the other stuff on top of it just made it worse, and it made it even divine. Like I didn't feel evil for feeling these things. Because before I had these justifications, I felt no different than them. I just wanted to be the one that got rid of them all. And I knew that wasn't a good feeling to feel, but I felt justified in it. Um, I went through my college years that way. I fell in love. I was probably smiling a lot more in that period of time that I fell in love. And I think because there's some people who said that you always was smiling. I was like, if you understood what was going on inside of me, you would, it was just different. I wasn't happy. And there are some people who saw it. Even in high school, there's some people who saw it, and they say you're just angry all the time. Yeah. And there's some people who didn't.
Yeah.
But after college, working, you need a second.
No, I just my husband was putting up some groceries, and so
Yeah.
just making a little bit of noise. Go ahead.
Yeah, but after college, working, still angry, still, you know, engaged in with the echo chamber to a certain extent to where I'm not really changing my orientation. I'm still hating teaching. I'm teaching, and that's heartbreaking because I'm in Atlanta teaching
Yeah.
elementary school,
Oh
and
my goodness,
so
you were a
yeah,
teacher in elementary school.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, black principal, black vice principal, black curriculum specialist, and
Oh,
with
black,
and
black,
with
black, black.
and with treating children like nothing, like they don't matter at all, and they're expecting me to to put kids in special ed just to give them funding, $10,000 per kid that you have on this track.
Wow.
And I wasn't going to do it. So they would always have people monitoring my classes, giving me bad ratings and trying to have meetings and me telling me I'm not. But my kids were making great grades. They were making good scores on the tests that they always had, silly tests, silly programs. My kids did well on those. So it was no justification in terms of the kids' performance, but me not following their script, reading scripts even. I just wasn't interested in it. It's an F school. It had been an F school for a long time. I wasn't interested in reading any scripts. And a lot of schools in this area, they're F schools. And it's like I don't know, we participate in this stuff. We
Right.
participate, and then we say they, and it's like, yeah. So it's like for me after dying, well, let me stay focused. All of this stuff just, made me feel hopeless. I'm at the teacher level. You can't really change the system, really. You would have to get in some kind of leadership position. So even that, seeing how our children were being handled in schools, contributed more to hopelessness. I'm just getting more and more angry. I go through a divorce, after college. We were together from college to for years, for 13 years total. Go through a divorce, and it breaks me because of how I look at love. Like it's protection for me, it's safety for me. It's the only reason why I've ever wanted to even be on this planet. And so when I get that, and this is the person that I thought I was going to be with forever. So when that ends, I am done.
What more is there?
And I had a near-death experience that I never even acknowledged in that depression that I experienced after that. I got sick. My tonsil got infected, and I was not present. But there was a voice guiding me through it, and it's the same voice. It's just an old, wise black man that said, it said to me, and this is, I don't know if I've ever shared this online, but this voice said, I've been laying in the bed for 3 or 4 days, dehydrated, cuticles falling off the skin all around my nails is just peeling off, falling off. I was dying. And this voice says, so you're just going to lay there and die. And I said, I don't know what to do because I'm delirious. My temperature is like 104, 103.9. When I got to the hospital, it was 103.9. So, and I was hotter the day before. So I know it was over 104. So my brain is frying, So this voice said, so you're just going to lay there and die? And I said, well, I don't know what to do. And he said, you can't eat or drink. And I said, nah. I said, well, I could drink, but I always end up throwing it up, And he said, well, you at least need fluids, right? And I said, yeah. I didn't know where the conversation was going. He said, well, you probably need an IV so you can keep the fluids in you. And I said, yeah. Now in my delirious mind, I'm like, I have a friend. Her name was Althea at the time. I said, I have a friend. She works in the healthcare. I can get her to get me a bag of saline and come over here and pump me up. And before I could even finish that stupid thought, the voice said, no, you need to go to the hospital.
Like, no, fool. The hospital, they got plenty of them there.
Yeah, and as soon as he said that, it was like bing, and the phone rang immediately, and it is my son's mother now. It was her saying, are you ready? Are you okay? I'm like, no. You ready to go to the hospital? I'm like, yeah. And I said, and I think I remember saying,
go before, and you were like,
I was like, no, I was just laying there dying. And
right.
And she just was like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah. And I was like, hurry up, because I felt like I was about to die like then, And yeah, and so that voice guided me through that experience. So,
always
and it's
there with you.
Yeah. But it was clear, like I'm literally having a conversation with this voice. It's not like it wasn't mystical. Like that's why I try to tell people my life is mystical. That conversation was like just with an old man that I that I just knew,
Right.
So just after that, my health just plummeted. That's when I started smoking cigarettes heavy. Blood pressure shot through the roof. Met my current son's mother. Still, we had met right at that moment, so it wasn't the healthiest circumstances to meet a new person in, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but it was love. And for me, even if I was resisting it, or trying to say I just got divorced, I don't want to ever do this again, it was still evident that she was love, and love is what I want. So I never, even if I was resisting and not behaving properly or whatever on one side, I saw her on the other side as perhaps even a savior in an unhealthy way, codependent kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it just created a kind of a toxic dynamic, I think, from the beginning, that even, that's maintained even after I died and came back a different person without that same attachment in that way.
Yes, I want to talk about that too. Like, how does it
Yeah,
affect your relationship?
very, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, um,
So,
yeah. So
so
no,
where you,
just go
so
ahead.
okay, so now you're at work, you're starting to feel some tightness, you're feeling
Mm,
some, visceral physical things,
yeah.
symptoms,
And
you know.
I'm working at this school, I'm teaching, I'm leaving. The guy says, "Good, see you tomorrow, Mr. Williamson." And in my mind, I'm like, "I'm gonna see you tomorrow." But as soon as I step off the curb, I feel this sting in my chest. And I know that's the first time I felt it in my chest, because on February 1st is when I felt the rip. I was just talking with some friends. I felt a rip
The
in
rip.
my
Where?
my heart valve. I was born with a bicuspid. I was born with a defect in my heart, and so having all this anger and stuff just didn't make sense,
Yeah.
So, and then breaking my heart so much over and over and over. So the rip happened February 1st, 2017. 7 days later, I started feeling it in my heart, because when the rip happened, I only felt it in my shoulder and in my back, and I was walking around literally like this, So my aortic valve was divided
Was
in.
clearly.
No, I didn't, because I didn't feel any pain localized in my chest.
Okay.
Uh, so at the seventh day, I had a heart attack, and I went to the emergency room, and that's when I had the near death experience. And so as I'm, going, I'm losing my breath, and I get there, and the guy's asking me to sign paper, because all
Now,
it feels like to
you
me,
drove yourself to the hospital?
I drove myself home in
Okay.
cardiac arrest. I get home, and I'm thinking maybe if I eat a snack, I'll feel better,
Glass of
Yeah,
water.
I made a sandwich or something in the water, and I'm still dying. So I yell up to my son's mother. I was like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, I need to go to the emergency room. And she comes down. She's working from home, luckily. And so I go to the emergency room. And as I'm breathing hard, trying to stay awake, because I feel like I'm about to pass out as I'm going, but I'm having to breathe hard to just kind of keep my breath. And when I get there, there's a guy trying to get me to sign papers, and I cuss him out crazy. And but after the experience, I come back and apologize to him. Like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, and he's like, "No, man, I understand. You were dying. You know what I'm saying? You were having a heart attack." He's like, but even after he asked me to sign, the doors open and the gurney is coming. So he had already, called for help. I
You
just
needed to, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just so I get on the gurney, and in 20 seconds I'm gone. I would say 20, 30 seconds I'm gone. I remember them pushing me, and we're turning left, and I see the double doors to the room where they're going to be working on me at. And I roll over on my left side, and I put my hands up like this. And the last thought I have is like, this is going to be some beautiful sleep. And then I close my eyes, and it's over with. But it never stops. Like, now where the people were, I'm seeing dots of light that look like a nighttime sky. It's like I'm feeling energy that's like from these people where they were. So I know that they're still there, but my eyes are closed. But I'm still have extremely heightened awareness about where everybody is. And then after they go through the doors, I'm out of my body now, and I'm looking down at them, and they are where they were when they were just dots of light. And so I was like, okay, that's where there was that energy that I was detecting, outside of while I was dead or asleep in my mind at first. And but when I first came out of my body, the last, I would say, human thought I had was, so this is how it happens, because I'd done a lot of studying and understanding. I think I understood intellectually some of it,
Yeah.
but it's nothing like experiencing it. And but it was perfect when I came out of my body. I felt like I woke up for the first time, and and I remember the thoughts. They just started coming. It's like, he's dead. You used to live there. Um,
Wow.
his mind, his body, his mind, and his ego is dead. And after that, I said, well, what's left? Because I'm still experiencing and everything's beautiful, you know. And it all came in at the same time. It was like energy, light, love, soul, consciousness, spirit, and I understood that. And the next phrase I heard was, "You killed yourself with your personality," and uh, and I knew that,
Woo!
like I knew what that meant. I was depressed, you know, my whole life, and I knew that that took a toll on my body, my mind, my spirit, my peace. And so I knew that, I understood that. So I'm watching everything from above, and I'm digesting these this information, and I um, observe this lady in the back that's holding her face, and I feel what she's feeling. She's upset that I'm dying, and so I'm trying to. In my mind, I'm in front of her talking to her, and she doesn't see me or hear me. And I'm trying to explain to her that this is beautiful. That body is dead. But I'm here. I'm trying to, like, you. If you could hear me, you would know that I'm excited. This is beautiful. Like, and she doesn't hear me, and that was disappointing because I wanted her to hear me and understand that this was a beautiful experience. It's not what we think it is. And
Was she professional or was she
I
like,
think she was, yeah, she worked there, but she wasn't involved with the resuscitation effort. Like she was sitting in the
okay,
back. Maybe she was a new employee or whatever.
okay. Hmm.
Um, excuse me for 1 second. I'm
Yeah,
really sorry, but it won't be
no,
with a
it's
second.
okay.
Yeah.
So while he's handling what he's handling, I hope that y'all are enjoying the conversation. Let me look at this camera actually. I hope y'all are enjoying the conversation because where he is taking us, he is taking us beyond what this 3D world wants us to know, which is that we are infinite beings, that we are not this body, that we are not the largest organ of our body, which is the skin. That has a determinant upon nothing in our life. The only thing that has determinant upon that is our thoughts behind the largest organ of our body, which is the skin, and how we have all been conditioned to think about it one way or another, no matter which group that you actually belong to. It is a mindset that has been molded for us, and that molding is what has shaped our lived experience. Did y'all hear that? The mindset which has been molded for us, and that mold has shaped our lived experience. So once we crack and shed that molding, then that is what shifts our lived experience. Okay, so I hope that connected. I hope that landed with somebody. Hello, William Graves. You said no way. What you saying no way to? Welcome, by the way. David is going to be back, and when he comes back, we're going to pick up with this conversation. But for now, we can go ahead. You don't know, enter. What's enter? I'm sorry, William Graves. I'm not following. But okay. So yeah, so Scorpio Mama, you said facts. So you saying facts to what William said, or you saying facts to what I said? But anyway, okay, so and that's really what the mental chiropractor, that is what this channel is all about. This channel is all about. You don't know what enter mean? I don't, but we'll pause that conversation, William. I'm gonna give the floor back to David. Okay, come on.
All right.
David.
Okay. So I'm above, looking down, watching this lady. The guy holding the defibrillator pads is also blaming himself. Like I hear the thoughts of these two people in particular because they are feeling a lot. Like there's a lot of love, there's a lot of compassion. So I'm feeling.
Do you remember like the ethnicity groups of these people? Are they like some of everybody?
Black lady, the lady was black. The guy holding the defibrillator pads was white or Hispanic. And there's another guy I'm gonna tell you at the end. It was weird, real weird. But
Can't wait for that part. Let me get
yeah.
my popcorn.
So yeah, I was watching all of this, and I'm looking at these people. I'm trying to console even the guy holding the defibrillator pass, because he's kind of like blaming himself, like he's putting a lot of weight, pressure on himself to save me. And in my mind, because I'm moving around at some point, I'm moving around space and it's perfect, and I'm already feeling perfect. I'm like you don't really have to do anything. Like you can stop right now, actually.
Wow.
And if it ain't even on you, because I somehow understood that if I were to continue going, traveling, or even if I was to go to the light, even I knew that that body wasn't going to wake up. So it wasn't on him, and I was trying to make him understand that, like, to drop that pressure, like if this body stops working, man, I did this to this body with my thinking, with my mind, like it ain't on you.
Right.
And at some point, while I'm watching them, trying to communicate with them and make them feel better, about me dying, because I didn't really have much concern for my body. I wasn't even looking at my body. And part of that was probably because there was so many people around my body to where I couldn't even see my body that much. It was just so many people working on me. And so I didn't have any interest in my body or whether I lived or died in that body. I didn't care. But at one point, I kind of looked up, just casually looked up, and I just shot through the ceiling, and was in space, instantly. I remember for a split second seeing how I should have figured how to describe this, but those little holes in the ceiling, and those like kind of the ceilings that have the hanging.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing one of those little holes, like it was huge, like I was going up, through it almost, and because everything got so big as I was leaving out of the room. But I remember seeing that hole look huge, and then I was gone, and I was in the void, black hole in space. Well, the void to me, when I came out of it, it looked like a black hole. So I say void and black hole interchangeably.
Mm-hmm.
Void is the spiritual experience of it outside of the body. Black hole is what it is inside of the body when you you observe it in reality. But outside of the body, in that void, it felt like everything was there. Every idea, every possibility. In my periphery, I could see images, people, things, scenery, everything. But when I put my attention directly on it, it disappeared like smoke. And I understood that.
Oh.
I understood that everything is here, but nothing is here. And that's what I understood from that. And it never created anxiety. It never created anxiety. So I was the void to me felt perfect. It felt like home. Felt like the womb of creation. Even when I returned, I saw Nut, an image of Nut, Egyptian image of the black goddess in the sky, that the carrier of the stars. Her body is black, and the stars are inside of her. So space is her. It's the womb of creation. And to see that picture gave me goosebumps when I came back from my near-death experience, because I understood.
Yeah, I'm not sure, David. Yeah, we'll just get.
Yeah, this is kind of weird what he's doing here.
Yeah.
But in the chat, but
just let him be.
Yeah, but yeah. So I was looking at everything in the void, like just it felt like home. It felt perfect, and I remember at some point I'm coming out of the void, and I'm looking down into the void. I didn't really want to be away from it.
Right now, you're looking down. So does that mean that you continue to ascend? Do you think?
I was in it, and then the way I was eventually knew that I was an orb of light. Right, the void is dense blackness. It's so dense that it feels tangible. It feels like velvet, like I was moving through it, and it felt like it was like I was touching it. And so once I became an idea. And this is some of the stuff is explained in Walter Russell's Secrets of Light book. Terrence Howard refers to this book, but and this person, because he has very important ideas that, from my experience, it seems like it makes sense to me. Like but in the void, if an idea emerges, that idea it it turns on itself and creates a loop, and it keeps doing that until heat is produced, and then it keeps doing that until light is produced from the heat. Once light is produced from the heat, it's no longer able to be in a black void, so it's you separate from the void and become a thing. That idea in the void becomes a thing. At that point, the thing, we don't know, there's no telling what that thing can be. It could be a star in the middle of a solar system. It could be an animal in a system that already exists. I don't know. Like, I don't really. Someone.
Are you explaining to us right now that this is how thoughts become things in the 3D realm?
That's how it seemed to be to me, but I don't speak about any of this. Is what I experienced, and these are some of the things that I gleaned from what I experienced, but I don't share this stuff as conclusions or as some rigid, certainty. I'm not certain about any of this, but there are people who speak about this in the way that I experienced it. That's what I'm describing. And the way that he speaks about this is that this centrifugal force that's created by the idea of emerging in the void eventually creates light. That light, once that light emits, it's no longer can be a part of that black void. It separates itself from it because it's a thing now. It's a thing now, right?
Okay.
So, and that thing goes through cycle, a cycle of life and death. That thing can be, that idea that emerged from the void can become a human.
Right.
It can become something else. It can become a star in the middle of a solar system.
What's the name of that book?
The Secrets of Light, by Walter Russell. He's written a few books that are important. I would say just go find Walter Russell. There's another one. The title is slipping my mind right now, but it deals with like oneness, and that's.
Oh, I'm gonna look him up because that's my subject. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is after I came back, like that's all it's just one thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Universal One. The Universal One is in the title of his other book.
Okay. The Universe. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the other stuff.
Universe of Oneness.
The Universal One.
The Universal One. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But the one that explains this, the secrets of light, is light. Not the secrets of light.
Oh, the secret of light. Okay.
Yeah. It literally, in that explanation of how the idea forms in the void, that's what I experienced. I didn't know about this book before my experience. That's not true. I owned this book since college. I just never read it. It was
never read it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You had your experience.
I picked it up.
Drawn back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of it made sense to me.
Confirmed what you had went through.
Same thing with I'm going to type some titles. I've owned this book since I was in college.
So in college, you had some spiritual curiosity. You had some...
very, very in
the midst of all of your,
anger,
hatred and anger, the concise
Vasishtha yoga.
Oh, okay.
A lot of Hindu and Vedic texts explain to me exactly what I experienced when I died. And so I was for 3.5 years after it happened. Okay, let me finish the death. All right. So I'm watching all this stuff. I come out of the void and I see the star forming region, and this star forming region is beautiful to me. I now view that star forming region as Cygnus, the Cygnus constellation that a lot of ancient cultures speak about, because everything that I saw there is there in Cygnus. Like I saw a black hole, I saw a star forming region, I referred to it outside of my body. I said, when I was out of my body and I saw this, the clouds, it was beautiful colors. The blue, the red, it gradiate down the light blue, from red to pink to white. And you see the faint lights forming inside of them. There's a baby stars. And I remember out of my body, these are forming stars, saying, because everything that I saw when I was out of my body, I was like, and then the distance between me and whatever I said, would disappear, and I would understand everything. Not only the space, not only the thing that I was looking at, but the space between it. It seemed like I was expanding and becoming one with the space and the reality at the same time, growing even. But when I saw the star forming region, I remember saying, so this is where stars are born. And I said, and I shot over to the area. But as I got closer to the area where the faint lights were forming, I slowed down and I did not go in that space because it felt like my presence could have potentially been disruptive. Like this was like a nursery to me. And this was such a peaceful
Oh,
space.
wow. Okay.
I didn't want to be disruptive in that space. So I stayed on the outskirts of where the stars were forming, the faint light. It was beautiful. I watched it for a while. And then I looked and saw like an asteroid moving by. And I said, I shot over to this asteroid. This asteroid looked like this asteroid that NASA has images of that every now and then, it's a cycle that it comes close to Earth. And it's called, I think it's called Bennu, and it has a band in it. When I looked at it, it had a band in the middle part of it. And then I saw the image about a year or so after my experience, and they said this is an image of Bennu, and it had a band in the same space that I saw in the middle of it. It was a weird shape, and so I spent a lot of my time after I died trying to figure out where I went, like what happened to me. You know what I'm saying? What happened to my mind? What happened to my brain? Like, why am I different now? Why can't I think the way I used to think or do
Did
things?
real quick, did you feel expansive?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, you saying when there or when I came back or both?
when you went there, did you feel like
huge.
you were?
Now, yeah. So I'm watching everything, right, and I see the light that and I know it's the light. There's no confusion there the way we have here. Like you understand, if you come back here and you say that's the light, when you were there, you knew it was the light. That's why you even have the suggestion that it was. So when I was there, I knew it was the light, and I looked at this, and it looked like a star that was extremely far away from me. I had no interest in the light in that way, other than I knew what it was. It felt like love. If I stopped trying to travel on my own will, I would have floated towards the light. But I wanted to explore. So at no point was I ever going to float, that way. I was like, yeah. So everything was beautiful, and I just was looking at everything. But there was a time when I kept looking at the light, and then I kept trying to go back to the emergency room and explain to the woman, that this was beautiful. And I was trying to, trying to just give her the news, what I was seeing. Like I was just trying to this is like, this is beautiful. Yeah, you shouldn't be upset. Why are you still holding your face? And she was holding her face the entire time. Even when I opened my eyes, this lady was still holding her face.
Wow.
So I tried to come back and tell her. So I was looking at the light, and then I would go back into the emergency room. The light was up and to the right. The emergency room was down to the left, and I was in that middle, like 90-degree angle almost. And every time that I took my attention from the light back into the emergency room, I went through myself. And all I was an orb of light, a glowing orb of light. That was it. And it was so shocking to experience myself as this glowing orb of light that I did it like 5 more times. I was like, let me go back. Let me look. I'm gonna go back. And I did this like 4 or 5 times just to see that, just to see myself as this orb of light. That was beautiful, and that was one of the things that stuck the most, because it was like one of the last things that happened, because one time I went back into the emergency room and I was in the lady's face, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm literally in her face, like, hey, like, this is amazing. We are these orbs of light. We're perfect. We don't die. Like, you really need to stop being sad. Like, and they
save your emotions. Don't waste them on me.
Yeah, don't waste it. And they resuscitated me, and when I was in her face. So the experience of that for me was, it's like being in somebody's face, and then instantly I'm back in my body looking at her from across the room, and I'm still having the same conversation. So when I opened my eyes, I blurted out, "Are you okay?" To this lady, and I'm looking for her, and she's still holding her face, and she didn't respond. But I think it was because they were still, working on me, trying to get me like, oh, he's back now, so now let's do whatever else they needed to do. And I opened my eyes, and then after I asked her, "Are you okay?" I blurted that out. Well, the first thought that I had was, like, these assholes woke me up. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I really.
Right. Who told you to bring me back?
I don't think I wanted that, but I wanted that. And I chose to come back by being concerned for these people in the emergency room. If I'm still concerned, if I'm having the most amazing experience that I've never imagined, and it's way better than anything I could ever imagine, and I'm still concerned about these two people, I have unfinished business here. Even if I think I hate everybody here, it was clear that I didn't, because even in that state of perfect love, I'm more concerned about these people watching me die than I am just moving forward on my experience. So when they woke me up, I blurted that out. Are you okay? And then I looked at the guy holding the defibrillator pads, and he's still standing there like he was about to hit me again. I said, "Are you okay?" And then he cut me off, and he's like, "No, are you okay?"
Right. You never asked. You the one on the gurney, dude.
Yeah. And then some voice from the right said, "You didn't feel that?" And I said, I was about to say, because as he said, I looked down and I see this gel pack on my chest that has indentions in it, the same size as the defibrillator pads that the guy's holding in front of me. So that's when my human mind caught up and was like, "Oh, that really happened. You really just died," bro. And this the funny part that I was saying that before. I lay back because I'm really tired, but there's this one more thing that happened, and there's this guy, like when I lay back, his face is literally like this close to my face, and I turn like kind of lean, and I look at him like out the side of my face, like he's like, "What did you see?" And his eyes were like so huge, and he was crazy looking, and I didn't have the energy to really go through the details of everything that I saw, So I just looked at him, and I can be a funny person, a jerk even, I could be an asshole. Even now, I'm still that way. So I looked at him and I was like, I'm just gonna respond this way. And I opened my eyes the same way his eyes were open, and I just said, "Blackness." And it was so funny to me even then. You know what I mean? I don't know why that made me laugh so much. But after that I kind of fell asleep. But every time I think about it, it just makes me laugh because I just remember his face. And he looked like Shaggy Dude from Scooby Doo. Like he looked like Shaggy, and he just looked crazy. And I just said to him, "Blackness,"
Now, how did he know that you had an experience?
I don't even know if he was a real person. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if he was a real person or if he was just a spirit that happened to walk by when I woke up. It just was like,
yeah.
What did you see? I don't know. This whole experience is so weird to me that there are things that before, because I am pretty irrational person. Like I have a master's degree from Georgia Tech, in management of technology. Like I'm a pretty logical, smart person, So I always wanted to understand it, and that guy was one of those things that I was like, I don't know if he was,
because you didn't see him while you were gone, and he wasn't there.
No, but as soon as I laid back, exhausted after they resuscitated me, he was there, like right in my face.
Wow.
I was like, who is this guy? It was weird, But from there though, we leave there. I'm better, but it's like a deer caught in headlights. It's like this crazy thing happened to me, and I don't know how to really talk about it, to other people. I don't know if I should talk about it.
To the hospital?
Yeah, I was in the emergency room when this happened. Yeah.
And then after that, they took you up to
a couple weeks later, 3-week checkup after the heart attack, the doctor called me, and I was going in and I was explaining to him more in detail about what happened, prior to the heart attack. And he said, as I'm leaving, he calls me back as I'm leaving. Atlanta is horrible traffic, right? So he calls me and asks me to turn around, and I'm in traffic. And my first thought is like, I ain't coming back. Like I think I even said it to him. I was like, no, there's a lot of traffic, man. I can come tomorrow. I was like, but I'm not turning around. And he said, no, please, please come back. He had a strong accent. He was from Nigeria, and his last name was Egbe. And Egbe is a concept that keeps coming up for me, and I have to engage. I'm gonna have to, and Ifa, I'm gonna have to deal with it. So,
so what is Egbe? What is that?
It's like your spiritual family. It's I don't like to make comparisons between cultures that are not the same, but it can be like, you know how people say in this language in the E world they talk about like uh what's the concept they have, like it's like they call people you have soul contracts with, people that you come to this life with, like
Right.
these are ideas that are ancient ideas.
Mhm.
Yeah, you find that idea exists, that you have agreements that you've made with people before coming here,
Mhm.
and they help you with that. They remind you of that. They guide you through that. They probably are more on your team than any other entity in this realm because they are here for you. You know,
Right. Yep.
whereas some of these entities are here for the system itself. Is to keep the system in order, to keep the system going, not for no
Mhm.
your ego. You know, help you on your little dream that you have here. You know, but they'll help you with your dreams. You know, so I came back. He said that based upon what I was saying to him, that he think that my heart ripped, and he said dissected. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about, but he kept saying, "You have a dissection. You have a dissection." And he said most people when they have a dissection, he said 75% they die. You know, they don't. They once their heart rips, they don't make it. They wake up dead. You know, and uh, and I was 3 weeks with this rip. And then I had to, once he sent me, because he gave me this paper, and he said, go now to Piedmont Heart Center, which is a nice little drive for me up north a little bit. And I went. And when I got there, there was a lady being mean to me at the window, you know, talking crazy to me. But they had already made them aware that I was coming. Yeah, you know, because she was like, "Give me that paper, give me," you know. And I'm handing her the paper. And they're like, you gotta wait like everybody else gotta wait. You know, she's
Oh, so let me ask you a question then.
yeah.
Okay, so wait, first of all, were you feeling anything? So after your heart attack, after they revived you, they didn't keep you overnight. They
No,
they discharged you.
they put stents in. They thought it was a blockage. They put two stents in. They tried to put a third stent in, and I couldn't because the valve was ripped. The blood vessel was ripped. The aortic valve was ripped, and so they explained that they couldn't put the third stent in. And I felt bad.
Did they know why they couldn't put it in, or did they?
This
They
was
didn't
when I
know
came
why.
back from my 3 week checkup. Is
Okay.
when he explained why. He said he thinks my heart ripped, and that's when he sent me to Piedmont and did.
Mhm.
The paper that he gave me was for an emergency scan, an emergency CAT scan, or emergency scan, not CAT. Um, I don't know what it was, a scan to see my heart, and it was, and they. So when I got there, there was a doctor kind of hovering around that area waiting for me. I didn't see him; he didn't see me. But when that lady was fussing at me, he heard it and he saw it. And he got mad. Like he went over there to that lady, give me that paper. He said, David, are you David Williamson? He said, come with me. And he looked at it, he shook his finger.
Right, like no, no. Well, let me ask you this
It was
because now
hilarious though. Yeah.
you may have had like a different outlook on life, you know, due to your, you know, your novel experience.
Yeah.
When she was engaging with you like that, now the prior David
I
may
would have
have
cut
gave
her
her the
out.
business.
I would have
Yeah.
cut her out like aggressive.
So,
Yeah.
but this person
It was
you didn't internalize it or nothing. You just
nothing. I just thought the way I think now is what makes a person that way, you know, and it's usually stress or a bad experience. And it's like I feel compassion for people who
Mm.
behave extremely graciously now because I know where it comes from. I was that way, so it ain't nothing to judge for me.
Right.
I was so angry that I killed myself. I don't know too many other people who've done that, you know.
Right. Who are
So
that committed to their anger.
exactly. So it's like it's impossible for me to judge anybody now. Like I just especially if it's about a state that they're in.
Right.
States change. States
Right.
can change. There is no state that has to be permanent unless
Yes.
we, the way I committed to it, you know, unless we commit
Right.
to it. But you have to remind yourself to be angry like that. You always have to remind yourself. It almost as it becomes a religion that you have to constantly reinforce, or it goes away because you're not built that way. We're built from
Mhm.
love. Love
Mhm.
is the only emotion that we feel that does not require an explanation or rationalization or a bunch of stories to make us feel it. We feel it all the time. We get
Mhm.
goosebumps without knowing why we got goosebumps.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's usually based upon some good feeling, you know. But hate, You got to tell yourself, you got to remind, they the devil, they did this, they did that, they did that. You got to constantly tell yourself and remind yourself
Over and over.
philosophy that makes them the devil, that makes them this. You got to do it. Otherwise, it goes away. It may not, you may still think it, but the attachment to that idea goes away unless you keep reminding yourself of it. But love is there. You don't even have to remind yourself of it. You babies feel it. Babies come to people, strangers, and they immediately move to want to be touched by them, held by them. And so I just don't have any attachment to negative emotions anymore. I don't have to make myself feel them and then remind myself to feel that and then tell myself that this is why I'm feeling it and it's justified that you're feeling it and that person needs to be more sensitive to. I don't have to make myself feel nothing. Period. Because it's not about that other person. It's about what do I love myself enough to not trigger my nervous system and put myself in a state where I'm not even experiencing reality anymore. I'm experiencing trauma, pain, bias, all of the things that are triggered nervous system, what have you experienced, but it ain't clarity, it ain't love, it ain't peace, it ain't understanding nothing, and
so I wanted to ask, so those 3 weeks, how did you feel those 3 when they put the 2 stents in and then going about your life for those 3 weeks? How did you feel?
Dead. I felt like I was still in space. I didn't want to be here. Yeah, I didn't want to be here. I was depressed, but physically I was okay, except for the depression was magnified. And they told me before I had heart surgery. The 3 weeks was before this heart surgery. I don't know if it's the same thing with stents or anything, but I think the depression after the heart attack was related to me just simply wanting to go back. Like I wanted to go back to that perfect state.
Right. Yeah.
And, but after the heart surgery, they told me I was going to be depressed too. And that was a different kind of depression.
What was that?
It's like my heart had no energy. My heart had no energy. My heart had no rhythm. I knew I couldn't live like that. I thought I was going to die every day. I didn't, and I was like, why would you even do that? Like I've experienced what death is. Why would you make me experience this just to stay alive? Like it ain't even worth it. Like the amount of pain that I was experiencing after they cracked my chest and fixed my heart, like it was too much. Like I didn't understand why. Like why would I have to go through this? Like I wanted to just go back at where I was at. Like why?
I was good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I sneezed one morning. And I just remember wailing it makes me cry when my mind repeats the noise, and every now and then my mind, when I think about it, I hear the noise, but I was just screaming. And then the screaming was like, why am I alive? Like, why do I have to still be here doing this? Like, why, And my son's mother was coming downstairs and I tried to stifle it because I didn't, wanted to see me that way and I couldn't. And I'm still just like, just hurting, wanting to go. And it's just so much pain I've experienced to where like I think about what people talk about stuff like no pain, no gain. And I'm like,
what's the gain?
Nobody has to hurt the way that I've hurt here. Nobody I don't want nobody to hurt. And there is no gain from that except for you understanding value and peace. When you get it, you really, really value it. You value moments where, like me, it felt like my body always had hands inside my rib cage pushing out all the way around forever until my heart surgery, and they corrected that. They put a pig valve in my torn valve, and now my heart beats close to normal. It still beats pretty hard, but nowhere near the way it used to beat. And my whole body ain't shaking like before. If I put my hand like this, it was no way it was gonna be this still. No way. Every single time my heart beat.
After the heart surgery?
You would have seen that my heart made my hand move. You would have seen it. Yeah. So after my heart surgery, I started feeling cold for the first time. I've never experienced like being really, really cold except like football. When you play football and you're outside for an extreme amount of time, that kind of cold. That cold was miserable for me. Like that made me sad. but as far as like sitting inside of an AC and somebody having an AC on 70 3 or something like I started shivering, after my heart surgery because my heart was beating somewhat normal now. It wasn't shaking my entire body and having, my body wasn't hot.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So now I shiver sometimes, and it's weird. There are times when I get up to use the bathroom and I'm shivering. I'm like, what in the hell is going on with me? Am I dying? You know what I'm saying? And because I've never experienced that before. So, but the biggest change that I saw is that I would notice things that made me angry, like the lady, even, at the emergency room at Piedmont. I just didn't have the same immediate reactions to it anymore. And when I noticed myself reacting in the same way that I used to, I was now observing myself, questioning why I was doing it. Like,
Yes.
why are you? Like, I remember I got
Mhm.
I got in an argument with my son's mother after I died, and internally I was like, "Why are you talking so loud? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you even? Yeah, like you're not even mad. Like my nervous system wasn't even triggered, and it's like
But
I'm
you
still,
just right.
yeah, but I'm on 10, and
Right.
I'm observing myself. Like, why are you? What is wrong with you? Stop tripping. And it's like from that is now my normal. It's a vigilance that is like a hyper vigilance almost on that always monitors bad behavior. And yeah, it's certain things I'm not gonna be able to do to people.
Right.
Now, and if I do it, it ain't gonna be easy for me to do it. Or and
Right.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
deal with that, the feeling of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like now I just if I'm not triggered all the time, I can respond to things how I want to respond to
Yep.
things and not
Yep.
just react in a way that I'm sorry for later. And
Yep.
even if I do, the apology now is instant, whereas before I had to figure out what I did wrong.
So
Now I know
did it
what I
crush
did.
your ego? Like, did it put your ego in check? Because it sounds like the only thing that would allow you to immediate extend an apology is an ego that's attained ego.
Yeah, it definitely put it in check. I know I'm not my ego. I know I'm not this capacity that humans have to defend an idea that they didn't invent. Like, if you say I'm evil, I didn't invent the word evil. You know, I'm not going to defend myself from. There's probably a process inside of my body that is the analogical equivalent to evil. Like digestion is a very volatile process. Yeah, perhaps that is evil. And I'll accept that. That's an evil process. To destroy anything that goes in my stomach is getting destroyed. Yeah, that's evil. But it's like as
Yeah.
far as being offended because you call me evil, like I don't have an attachment to that word in that way no more. It's not gonna make me feel nothing. And there's because there are a lot of people who say I'm the devil because I don't speak about Jesus and God and in the way that a Christian would have me speak about
Right.
you know,
Right.
and I don't really describe that in my experience because that's not what I saw. I
Right.
didn't see angels. I didn't see my ancestors. I didn't see any of that. I saw space and I got clarity. I was connected with everything. I even saw something that I don't talk about always, but lately I've mentioned it because people like mystical stuff. But
Yeah. Bring me forward.
it's a distraction to me though, because the most important thing that I learned was that we got to behave better
Mhm.
here.
Right. Right
That's
here and
it.
now. Yep.
But one thing I saw as I'm looking out in space when I was out of my body, I could see that void that I came out of, there was other ones, and some of them were huge, some of them were small, some of them moved, some of them were fixed. Um, but I could see them all throughout space. And the way that you see them is space is black, but these voids are blacker than black. They're blacker than space, and they're easy to see when you look. Maybe not with human eyes, but when I was out of
Right.
my body, it was easy to see that spot in space that was blacker than space. Always, it was easy. Now,
Mm.
when I looked further past it, what I started seeing was what looked like a grid. Uh, the colors of the lines, they were just glowing. Now, I've heard people say green lines. I've heard people say golden lines. I just remember a glowing grid that seemed to be almost like the framework that all of this was built on. I did not like ideas that people say that this is a digital matrix, before my near death experience. But after my near death experience, when people presented that idea to me, I was more open to it and
Mm.
as a
Mhm.
possibility. And it was mainly because that grid that I saw it seemed out of place. It seemed, um, it seemed like it was made, you know, like it was there, like put there, like it was. the foundation of something that was put on top of it, rather. I don't know.
But the glowing lines didn't have any digital, or you were too far away to even see if it
I
had.
just faintly seen, and it wasn't permanent. It was like a fleeting moment where that behind space was very clearly a grid, and it was
Mm,
a glowing grid.
mm.
And some of these things to me, these are things that the mind can create, or these are things not necessarily that the mind can create, but these are ideas that could have been attached to my spirit in some way. That as you leave here, I think, like when people speak about life reviews, because I had a life
Yeah,
review that
I
was
ask you that. Yeah. So you
very
didn't have.
brief, very brief. It was just energy. I felt how the people felt.
Did you? That's what I wanted to
Yeah,
ask you. What
yeah.
was that like?
The main things I felt were, because I didn't participate in reality, so I didn't have a whole lot of negative stuff to process because I didn't do anything here, really, except for go to school and play sports, play video games, and was pretty much a loner. So I
The
don't have.
hatred that you had for other people that they felt from you.
Yeah. The main thing I felt in my life review, again, it was a very brief, I would say 40 seconds maybe, is what it could have been if time was attached to it in that way. I felt saying that I was going to do something to somebody who really wanted to do something with me, and I had no serious intention of following up. Like, I felt that, and the disappointment that the people felt
Hmm.
is extreme. I also felt debts, not just money debts, but if someone loved you or showed you some genuine concern or love, and you kind of push them to the side, and they felt uh, slighted, I felt how that felt. Um, I felt like I'm not going to, and I've gotten to this place and since I've been back, where I felt overwhelmed by requests from people outside of me, and I say yes, 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 and I have to know that I can't say yes and not follow through. Um, it hurts people, you know, and I've done that. So I will say, I'm going to get back to all of the requests, even if it's I can't do it in response.
Right, right, right.
But
Rather than not just saying anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because I felt what it feels like to feel slighted, because I did that a lot because I didn't care. I didn't care
Right.
about this place. If I said I was gonna do something, I didn't do it. So I was gonna
Oh
die and
well,
go back home.
they'll be all right.
Yeah, I didn't care, and now I care about every word, every thought. Like, I want it to be consistent. I want what I think, what I say, and who I say I am. I want it all to be observable, not just something that I say, you know,
Hmm.
because I can say that I'm a good person, but if it's not observable by people who know me and see me every day, then what's the point of saying it? I think a lot of people say or self-profess so much, and I can't do that anymore. I can't do that anymore. It's just not the confirmation of who I am comes from reality, and deep internally, but as far as like me being able to project outwardly that I am something with my mouth without my behavior being consistent with that, I'm not going to do that. So I don't say it. Anybody else can say it, that my message is beautiful, that you are this or you are that, but I can't say it because if any part of my life somehow doesn't reflect that,
Contradict
then
that.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to say it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
never, because once I know that I'm not that, I'm not going to ever say or suggest or even try to project that I'm something that I'm just not, because I'm not going to be dishonest here in my experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, so two things. Well, me and my husband, we were actually having like this conversation because when I learned about the life review, I don't know what I was watching, something on Gaia or something, and the person was talking about the life review, but then they were also talking about feeling how the other people felt,
Yeah.
and that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh my God, that must be so devastating. And so my husband was saying, yeah, but it's probably without the judgment of it. Like
No,
you,
there's no judgment of it. You just feel it. And it's like, I think the life review is the last opportunity to detach from the most impactful moments of your human experience as you're leaving here. That's what, and the ideas that you've uh, allowed to just become you. After I came
Yeah.
out, yeah, after I've came out of the void, there was no memory of the human stuff that I identified with. I was, I
Oh
was
wow, what a
attention.
gift.
Attention is what I seem to be. And everywhere my attention focused, my experience happened. And that's the same
Yep.
thing I see now.
Yep.
Everywhere I am attention, I'm just in a body now. And
Mm-hmm.
everywhere my attention focused, that's where my experience happens. If I focus on, heartache and heartbreak, I'm going to get a lot more heartache and
Yep.
heartbreak. If I
Oh,
focus on, go ahead.
no, because I want you to start going in that direction as we wrap it up, because I know we've been here for 2 hours and I know
Yeah,
you got stuff to do.
yeah,
But my husband just wanted to say, he wrote me a note. He said the difference between near death or returning from death and out of body, because I was
yeah,
sharing with you the other day. Was it the other day I was sharing about the out of
yeah,
body that
yeah.
he had experienced?
Not much. Honestly, I think that people who have near-death experiences sometimes we can be cliquish, like this is a frat that we're in, and we're going to save the world with these insights that we have. But there are people who I've because I've had people reaching out and sharing. This lady shared with me that she was waiting for her friends to get dressed to go out to party, and she hadn't drank, no drugs involved, just laid on the bed to wait for them to get ready, and had out of body experience, and it was life changing.
Wow.
Um, Things that she speaks about and the way that she speaks about them is the same way that I speak about them, as if she died the same way I died.
Very little
And
difference.
there are people who've had mushroom trips, ayahuasca trips, DMT trips, all of these things, that that leads to a similar orientation. Now, I've had mushroom trips, and the difference for me, and even when I was out of my body as a child, all the time, I've had experiences out of my body as an adult. The difference is I know I'm out of my body. I know I'm David. I know I can. There's something there's an anchor, and and it,
Mm-hmm.
and it
So
is
your
the
body
body.
is the
The
anchor.
body is
Mm-hmm.
the anchor. But
Uh-huh.
when that body ain't working,
Right.
the experience is you forget it, and there is no referring to it. There is no when I wake up, it's gonna be wild. There is
Okay.
no reference point back to reality when the body stops working, and it's a very subtle difference because the
Mhm.
ego death and body death are very much the same thing, but you still have a body even if your ego is not intact anymore.
Mhm, mhm.
Like
Wow.
you are
Okay.
aware of that, but when your body isn't intact and your ego dissolves, it's a different experience, and
Mhm,
it is fundamental to me. It's fun. It is what we are, and it is what this place is built from, and
mhm,
it is what connects us to everything. And that's what we are when we leave here, and we leave the circumstance that made us into something separate from reality. When that circumstance is undone, we're back one with reality, and that state is different than just a psychedelic experience or a normal out of body experience that I've had. But some of the same insights can come from this. So there is no hierarchy to me in those things. I don't speak like, you just had you just took some mushrooms. I didn't did that before. There ain't nothing. No, I don't. No, no, because even those things are different for each person.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like one person can have a mushroom trip that is an NDE, a completely an NDE type
Mm,
experience, and another person they just see the shapes, and that's it. They just see the fractal shapes, the beautiful shapes and the colors, and that'll be it. And they don't come back with any message or anything at all other than that. Wow, the wave function collapsed, and I was seeing things that is not here now. These things aren't here now. You know what I'm saying? But that happens often. Your normal way of seeing reality isn't intact when you first open your eyes. You might hear a voice still speaking from your dream when you initially open.
mhm.
So
Yep.
reality is always in flux. We are always in flux. We change states, and death is just a state change to me. You know.
Yep. Mm. Okay, so in wrapping up, You were talking earlier a few moments ago about how now, you are the attention. So whatever it is that you focus on, this is exactly what it is that, you experience or you attract. So if you could just leave our audience, especially to the young people, David, of us starting to, bring the awareness to them, you know, about this, esotericism, so what would you say to them? And then I also want you to drop, how people can get in contact with you on your Instagram, on your YouTube channel that you're going to get to eventually. But yeah, so if you could just with that, like what's the ultimate takeaway for you as people in this lived experience?
Yeah, I would say identity, right? If you come here and you get told who you are from the birth, all the way through young adulthood, even in adulthood, now you got, people still seeking to understand who they are, identity stuff. Um, there is no man-made term, phrase, group, history, narrative, story, attachment that can define what you are. There isn't. So identity to me is attention. That's what we are. If you put your attention on only Black people, because that's what I was born around, and as I felt the pain of the Black experience, then my world becomes a Black world. I don't care about nobody else. I don't care if they all die. I only wanted to protect Black people. I only wanted to save Black people. Now, some people might say, hey, if you're in a volatile world, then you should only care about the people who care about you. But that's a trauma narrative. My memories are older than what we see now. This has not always been a volatile world. And the orientations that we created to adapt to this violence and this identity nonsense that we engage in now is not truth. It's
like that word.
These are trauma narratives. These are history being twisted to fit a culture, to fit a group's agenda. These are not, it's not truth. Truth is we came here and our ancestors knew what we were. There are still remnants of the truth in our stories from our ancestors, that we are stars, that we came from the stars. So we came from the stars. Why would we come here and fight over skin color and storytelling and trauma narratives that only exist here in this physical experience? When we know that we are higher, we come from a higher place than this physical experience, but we drop here and play silly games, as we wake up to the silly games, as we see them, we need to stop playing them. And I don't care how proud you are of any of your identity monikers. It's just a moniker. It's a placeholder. You can be whatever you need to be in any moment to get a goal accomplished. But you're not, like, if I need to be tenacious to get a goal accomplished, my identity isn't tenacious. I just engage tenacity to get the goal accomplished.
That's good.
And I think that we embody all of these things that we feel and experience and take them on as our identity, including trauma narratives, including, and it's not who we are. Who we are is a fundamental part of what this entire system is. And it's awareness, it's attention, and it's energy. And that's what we are. We happen to embody bodies, it come inside of these bodies, and these bodies have a history of their own. And we can't let the history of a machine supersede the awareness that we are inside of this machine. This machine, once it's been working the same way forever. It has had some of the same trauma narratives recycling inside of these machines forever. We can choose to put our attention elsewhere and create a whole different reality instead of regurgitating or just constantly rerunning this old stories in our mind forever. We don't want to do nothing different collectively as a human race. We don't want to do something different. We want to just keep killing each other with stupid stories and over skin color and stuff like that, which scientifically are insignificant. Skin color makes a 0.0000000. How many zeros I need to put % of the human genome? Yet it's centered in all societies, it seems. And we got to wake up from this human stuff, including the stories that we tell inside of our religions. And the people that we view as heroes, and that we adore. Some of them are telling stupid stories just to galvanize our attention so that they can benefit from our attention. You don't benefit from the attention that you give to any hero here. You don't. You know, you don't benefit unless I'm sharing from you authentically, from my experience that helps me see reality clearly. You don't benefit from giving me your attention, you know. But if I'm
Mhm.
helping you understand the power of your attention and of you, and I'm not directing you to look at your own personal story as a holy book, even because you see your
Mhm.
patterns, you see the repeated things that you struggle with in your own story. Uh, if you keep your nervous system regulated, you get to see reality. You really get to experience reality. But you don't experience reality when you're telling yourself a whole bunch of trauma narratives, uh, and you're triggered all the time, and you have anxiety and fear that's governing how you interact with people here. You don't experience reality from there. You experience what trauma and anxiety and fear would have you experience, and that's not reality. It's these words that come, oh, this person is doing this, or this person might be doing that. That person is looking at you the same way you looking at them, trying to learn you, understand you. But when we have fear and anxiety, there's a whole lot of other ideation going on that's not happening in reality. So now you're not experiencing reality. You're experiencing these figments of your imagination, of your triggered nervous system that don't even exist in reality. And that's what I navigated for 30 plus years. Is a
Mm.
bunch of made up stories, never really engaged in reality. And didn't and as a result, I'm not good in reality. Not consensus reality because I didn't participate in it. You know, I did. I participated only in the things that I focus my attention on, the parts of
Your
consistency.
relative.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
stuff that made me feel something. It made me
Mhm.
angry or trauma.
Yeah.
Like those are the only parts of consistency reality and it made me not experience reality in its purity.
Yes.
And after I died and came back, and I no longer have an attachment to any of these identity narratives and trauma narratives and all of the stories that human beings continue to repeat. They keep us stuck on stupid and not evolving collectively. Uh, it just now seems all absurd to me now. And
Yeah.
and I noticed that my nervous system wasn't attached to it anymore, and that I could actually hear things, and I could be accused of something, or I could be insulted, and I can just think like, oh, that's how they feel about themselves. Oh, wow, I get that. I get that. I was doing
Mm.
the same stuff too when I was, hurting really badly, And it's like, but when I have peace, I can just observe it all. Um, and I can choose a better way of being, and that's what I'm choosing.
This message, David, is what my strongest wish is to get to the young people, um, especially the ones
Say
that
one
are.
quick thing about the young people, right? I've never solved one single problem that I profess to be concerned about in my angry activism. I never solved a single problem that I profess to be concerned about because I didn't even have access to executive brain functioning to fix any problem.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
so if you want to fix a problem, you don't have to wrap a whole narrative of anger and hate around it. Fix the problem.
Yep. Yep. Oh
You'll
gosh.
fix it a whole lot faster.
So good.
Yeah, you'll
I
fix the
can't
problem a whole
wait.
lot faster without the confusion and the anger.
Every school, every school, every college needs to have you as a speaker on their campus. I'm telling you now, this is what is needed. They need to hear you. They need to hear you.
Hey, if every event that you get me signed up for, you get the agent or the manager's fee.
Just be, yes.
Hey, and that goes for anybody. Anybody find me? Hey, you find me an opportunity.
A speaking gig. Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
why not? I wouldn't have gotten it
Yeah.
without
Is
you.
it
So you'll
you,
get
you
your
need
you'll get your cut. I
it'll
make the
add
whole world my
everything in
agent.
there.
My manager.
Um,
Yeah.
thank you, David, so much. Every time we talk, I mean, you already know. Every time we talk, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I could just bust from joy. So it's you fill me up every single time, and this conversation, doesn't disappoint at all. So let people know where you are, and I can also put it in the show notes. But
Okay. Instagram is where I'm most active lately.
okay,
It's David A. Williamson 731.
okay,
And
got
that is
it.
also, yeah, at David A. Williamson 731. That is also my YouTube handle.
Okay,
Um, Facebook, I have a page. It's facebook.com/. DVD 731. And
You can text this to me.
yes, I'll send all of it. And
Okay.
email
Yes.
DVD 731 at proton.me. I honestly, I respond to a lot of people. People message me, I call them. You know, because it's easier. You know,
Yep.
yeah.
I
I
can
don't.
attest to that. That's how I sent you on IG, and you were like, "Yeah, let's chat, let's talk." I was like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god, yeah,
I would rather talk than a bunch of back and forth text messages.
yeah."
Easier to express myself, I think. Lately, anyway, is speaking. So just reach out, man. I'm a very regular person. I'm not some
You
Google
are, you are.
Messiah type. I'm not trying to be that. I just care, and I want to see better for us all here. You know.
I love that so much. David, thank you. We will definitely be in touch, and don't forget to text me that stuff so I can put it in the show notes.
Will
And
do.
I am so grateful. You don't understand. I'm so grateful. Thank you for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank all of you guys that stayed on with us and watched in the comments. You know, I'm gonna go back and try to make sure I understand a couple people better. You know. So
Yes, me too. All right, David. Thank you. I'll see you later.
all right.
Okay,
All right, peace.